Hello, hello. Happy Sunday to everyone. For those who have never met us, my name is Jimmy Malloy. This is my lovely wife, Marilyn Malloy. If you happen to be new to the group, which we have several who are, we just want to say welcome and thank you for joining us on this Sunday evening after Christmas. So Sunday Night Lives are just videos where we come in, we kind of give some updates as far as what kind of stuff has happened throughout the week, what might be coming up in the next week or so, and just give generalized updates and encouragement, hopefully, as we go throughout our week. So welcome. Hope everybody had a Merry Christmas. If you're here with us, we would appreciate you just dropping a comment in the comment box. Now, you might be with us on Facebook, as most of you are, but you could also be joining us via YouTube, which we want to appreciate and say welcome to you as well. For those who may not know that we had a YouTube channel, we do. You go find Unmask Tulare County on YouTube. Go ahead and sign up to subscribe. And let me see which one is. Facebook is, or not that one. We're also on Telegram. There's YouTube. So if you find the YouTube channel, go ahead and click subscribe, and you can click that little bell right there that will alert you every time we do one of these lives, which is a great way of knowing that when we come on. Also on Facebook, I'm pretty sure there's a way that you can set it to where you get notified, anytime that person's gone live. I know that I've done that with certain people, and probably a good idea to do that just so you can stay in the know and make sure you know what's going on when it comes to things that we might have happening.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of shadow banning going on Facebook. So we talk about how there's all these things that we're doing and how we're posting it, we're making announcements, we're doing all these things, and it's like our post reach is like very minimal. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Mm-hmm. So I don't know if there's shadow banning going on or whatever, but Telegram is good because we don't approve or deny posts. You can just post whatever freely. Facebook, we changed it because Facebook told us as admin that if we didn't basically screen what was being posted in our group, then we run the risk of the group no longer existing. And we didn't want to do that. I didn't like the idea of doing that because I believe in free speech, even though, I might not agree with everything that, is being posted. I don't feel like that's really my job to tell somebody they can or cannot post something, but we felt like for the sake of the group, we needed to do that.
On the other side of that, on the Telegram page, everybody please realize it is unfiltered. So stuff that gets posted on there is not necessarily
been
fact checked or approved or official or anything along those lines. So anybody who posts things there that's not me or Marilyn, who knows what's coming.
And
then
if there's things, and then but the same thing is even with Facebook, even though me, Jimmy, or Crystal, who's our other admin, even though we might approve a post, honestly, so like a lot of it has been with the whole masking. Like, just because we might approve, like somebody saying, oh, hey, like this place isn't enforcing the mask, that doesn't mean that they're going to turn around and start enforcing it, or vice versa. Yep. We don't know. That's just what somebody's reporting, like their experience.
Sure.
So also take that with a grain of salt too. Sorry,
sure.
I'm going to adjust how I'm sitting.
Anyway, so happy Sunday. We're, it's the Sunday after Christmas.
So what's that called?
What?
The Sunday after Christmas, like the day after Christmas.
I think it's Boxing Day, technically. I think that's if you look on like one of those calendars that has all of the holidays.
Yeah, but I mean, if it's Christmas Eve the day before, what's it called the day after?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know that there is a name for it.
Well, there should be a name.
There you go. Post-Christmas. Christmas post.
Oh, yeah. Post-Christmas.
So who's saying hi? Who do we have with us here?
So who do we have? I saw... Okay. Paul.
Hi, Paul. And maybe Debbie. I don't know if she's with you as well.
Yeah, and Debbie. Tammy
Mello.
Uh-huh.
Hi, Tammy. Good evening to you.
Lori Messia.
Hi, Lori.
Melissa Williams.
Hello, Melissa.
Lotella.
Hi, Lotella.
Elizabeth Vieira.
Elizabeth, how are you?
Oh, hey, Elizabeth, really quick. So Jacob was just talking about wanting to get together with your kids. So we're going to have to make that happen maybe over winter break. Sorry, side note.
Well, there's that.
And the Cannons, Tracy and John.
Nutella, looks like.
Yeah, I already said that, didn't I?
Oh, did you? I don't know.
Yeah, Nutella.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, hello to everybody. We appreciate you being with us. So we don't have a ton to say tonight. This has been the Christmas week, and so not a whole lot has really gone on. So if you're here and you have some stuff that did come that maybe we forgot about, feel free to throw it in the comments. We can talk about it. We could probably do a little bit more of a Q&A sort of a thing tonight. I don't expect this one to go the full hour that we normally do, just because as of right this second, there's not a ton going on. So, that is going to change. We did sort of intentionally back off, going into the Christmas and New Year's season, because we wanted to be able to back away a little bit and enjoy the season with our families. We do think it's important. We know it's important. We're doing this stuff. The reason we're standing, the reason we're doing all the things that we do is for our families, right?
Yeah.
And so, we don't want to neglect them, especially at times of Christmas and New Year's and holidays and all that. So hopefully you guys have been able to disconnect a little bit and enjoy the season and enjoy Christmas, and hopefully what it was all about, being Christ. That's just something that's been on my heart a lot lately, has been just the parallel between Jesus and what he brings to earth and what he brings to all of us, and then the message that we're proclaiming, the message of liberty and freedom and all of those things. Like, there's such a huge parallel there. So we may get into that a little bit tonight, but anyway, hopefully everybody had a great Christmas. I'd be curious, are any of you who are on the live, are you guys out of town? Or are you all in Tulare County at this point? And if you're out of town, out of state or whatever, maybe drop in the comments what your experience has been since you've been gone.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we were actually just at Costco a little while ago, and we were walking in, and there was a guy loading up a truck right there. And he looks at us and he sees our sweatshirts and he says, "Hey, I like it." What do you say? He's like, yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you.
He said he agreed.
And he says, "I'm from Oklahoma." So he must have been here for Christmas or something. He's like, "I'm from Oklahoma, and we don't do any of that mask crap there."
He was like, "We don't wear those."
Yeah. And so it was just kind of funny. We're like, yeah, that's what we're trying to get to as well. But if any of you are out of town, it'd be cool to kind of hear what your experience is. Somebody said the 12 days of Christmas.
That's what Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's funny about that? I didn't realize.
We were just talking about that.
Yeah, we had a trivia question on that game, right?
We have a Christmas trivia thing.
Little Christmas trivia game, and it was talking about like what days the 12 days of Christmas are. I didn't realize that those started on Christmas.
The day.
And then it runs 12 days.
On Christmas.
Yeah.
And then 12. So until January 5th. That's right.
Yeah. So I guess we are still in the 12 days of Christmas. So it can still be festive. So hi, who was it? Cindy? Did you say Cindy?
Cindy Flores. Yeah. Hi, Cindy.
Welcome. So anyway, I guess the big thing that we have going on is coming up.
January 3rd.
Is January 3rd.
We're going to go visit our capital and let them know that we're not okay with what's...
We are not okay.
We are not okay, guys.
So, yeah. So January 3rd.
January 3rd.
Is the Sacramento trip.
Is when we're going up to Sacramento.
So hopefully everybody who's on here is signed up if you can possibly go. We know that there are several, like Paul, I think you were saying that you're actually going to be up in Sacramento visiting family. So you'd drive over from there. Just a reminder that we do have buses. We have 2 buses. One is going to be leaving from Tulare, and one is going to be leaving from Exeter. So both will be about 8 o'clock in the morning. And, for those who want to ride, there have been several who said, we're going to drive ourselves because of X, Y, or Z, which is great. That's fine. But we did want to provide an opportunity for people to take charter bus if they want to go up together. We'll be taking the bus out of Tulare up there. So, it'll be exciting. But, seats are limited, and I know how it's going to go this week. They're going to go really quick. We do still have room on both buses. But if you want that spot, you need to let us know as soon as possible so we can get you down and make sure that you have that seat on the bus.
And how that's going, just to keep everything organized. It's basically first come, first serve. So even if you, well, I should say
first pay, first serve.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And that's just to secure your spot, unfortunately, that's just the way it has to go.
Yeah, I mean that's
just the way
it's
that,
just like buying a ticket to anything else, right? You
Yes.
pay for it and then the ticket's yours.
Yeah.
But
And unfortunately, it's non-refundable. So make sure you're, for those that, if you are going to take a day, like if you're on the fence, if you're not sure, blah, 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 just know if you do pay for it, and then for whatever reason, if something comes up and you can't go.
Yeah. So, and just,
I'm sorry.
You don't have to be sorry. That's what it is.
I know.
So just to back up real quick and just give a little bit of the purpose for what we're doing is we are going to the Capitol. What?
I'm like, we're going to the Capitol because we are not okay.
So there's been some question though. So, we're unmasked Tulare County, right? And so we've always, since the beginning of this, our focus has been local. And we've done that intentionally. We're not trying to become a statewide group. We're not trying to do anything like that. I just saw a question. How much are seats on the bus? They're $40 each.
Yeah.
So we're not trying to become a statewide group.
Oh, side note. Hey, before you keep going, that's Ashley. Hi, Ashley. We met her at that craft fair on Saturday, her and her husband. So hi, Ashley.
Hi, Ashley. Good to see you. So we are a Tulare County group. We're a local group.
Yes.
We believe strongly that, what's General Flynn's statement that we always go back to?
Local action has national impact.
So we believe that strongly, that local action, all the national impact starts locally.
Yes.
For those of you who are Christians, who are believers, there's a lot of the prophets and a lot of those types of people are talking about local, like local is where this stuff is going to start. So there's kind of a theme that's going on out there, really emphasizing local. And we feel like we're right in the stream of, where God's going to be moving, which is great. So, but anyway, we are a very local grassroots organization. So, why would we be going to Sacramento? Why are we attacking that sort of thing? From the beginning, in the first school board meeting I ever went to, and the first, meeting I ever had with a school board member, we've been hearing the same thing over and over again from all of our local officials, whether they're school board members, whether they're city council, whether they're county supervisors, or whoever. They're saying that the fight is in Sacramento, that they basically have to yield to whatever Sacramento is going to do, and we should be writing our state level people, the governor, the CDPH, all of these places. Like that's the place that they're directing us to take our fight. And so while I understand what they're saying, I don't fully agree with that. I think that our local representatives need to represent us locally. And that's why we're doing all the stuff we are doing locally. But there is an element of needing to help make our voice heard in Sacramento, right?
Yes.
And so we've known from the beginning that at some point we were going to need to, make a stand in Sacramento. And we have been, and hopefully you guys have been, contacting your statewide representatives, your House of Representatives. For a lot of us, it'd be Devin Mathis. Shannon Grove is our senator. Governor Newsom, obviously, is our governor. And hopefully we've been making those kind of contacts. I know at the beginning we were really good about that. Hopefully that hasn't stopped completely. We need to keep that going. But we've known that we were going to have to do something on a statewide level.
Yeah.
And
for me, part of the reason why I want to go to Sacramento is, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say half the stuff I say on here, but you told me to say it anyways. Is I have a feeling, well, it's not like, I don't really anticipate anybody coming out and talking to us about anything. Like, I don't know that we're going to see Devin Mathis or, Shannon Grove or any, do you get what I'm saying? I don't know that that's really going to happen, but I want to in turn say back to school boards. Okay. We did go to the Capitol. We did make our voices heard, but again, you still represent us.
Yeah.
How come you guys aren't going to the Capitol?
Well, then that's, yeah.
Aren't you our representative?
Exactly.
How come you guys haven't signed up?
Right.
To go on the bus?
So, and that's exactly.
Or to go up there. I mean, I'm not saying they have to take the bus, but I'm just saying.
Yeah. No,
because they've been invited.
And that's exactly where I was going with that is that,
Sorry.
No, you're okay. Yeah. So, I mean, we're basically checking that off. And when they say, hey, your fight is there, we say, well, we've done that, but you guys are the ones who represent us. And, it is important to go up and gather with like-minded people and, make a protest. And it is the day that legislators go back into session. So it's an appropriate day to go in there and do that. And so I think it'll be great to go in there with, hopefully tens of thousands of, like-minded people who are gathering to say that, hey, what has been going on is not okay and it needs to change. And for me, like, I look at it, and we could get more into this later, but the next big thing that I see coming down the pike legislatively is that all indications from the governor's office and all that is that they're going to mandate these vaccines for our kids the same way they've mandated them, the other 10 vaccines that are mandated. And what they're saying is that, just the same way the other ones are is how we're going to do it now. But what they would have to do to remove a personal belief exemption is they would have to pass something like SB 277, and they'd have to basically alter the current law to take those things away. So we need to make sure that our voices are heard that says, hey, if you guys have any interest in creating a law that would remove our personal belief exemption, like, that needs to stop, and you need to know that it's not okay. So on a state level, that's one of the things that I'm hoping to be able to communicate, is that this is not okay if you guys are going to try to go this route. So so anyway, it's a great opportunity, I think, and for us all to go up there together, and it'll also benefit, we'll get to know each other a little bit better.
I'm excited about
yeah,
that.
I'm really stoked about, taking the bus ride up and back, and just, for people that we don't get to spend a whole lot of time with on a regular basis, just getting to do that.
We want to see your face, not just stare at ourselves on the screen.
Yeah, exactly. For sure. So anyway, January 3rd is coming up, and that's a good thing. So
yeah, get a hold of me if you would like to go, because then I can add your name to the list. And payments, we do cash. Obviously, it's easier to pay via Venmo, PayPal, Cash App.
Yeah, we can do Cash App.
It's easier that way because if you live in, Visalia, we live in Tulare.
Yeah.
It's just easier.
Yeah, and reach out to either one of us. We can get you the links and stuff for the Venmo or the PayPal, or you can go on our website, www.unmaskedtularecounty.com. There's a button on there to donate, and you can just put in there what that's for, and that'll go to us as well. And you can use any credit card. If you don't have PayPal, it would just be like paying for something online, like if you were buying whatever from wherever. It works the same way. So that's a good way. Thank you, Paul, for making that happen on our website.
Paul, you're amazing.
Yep. So also, speaking of the website, I guess we could say that there is the Naughty and Nice list up there if you guys haven't seen it. And thank you so much for everybody contributing to that. We're going to have to update it. We'll be probably doing that now that Christmas is over. We'll sit down and go through all the posts.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys have been great about, when you go to a place and you experience either good or bad.
I want to say, honestly, for the most part, like 80% of the businesses, maybe even 90, 85,
probably higher, yeah,
are on the good list. Like we were just saying, we just went to Costco in Visalia. The lady offered us a mask at the entrance. We said, no, thank you. We kept walking, saw employees.
Yeah. And truthfully, I think you guys, several of you who are on here, are probably the reason why that's happened at Costco, because we were actually talking to one of Marilyn's former coworkers, and he was telling us that, so-and-so managers like pulling people's memberships. And we said, not anymore, because we know a lot of our people have called corporate and have, had that discussion, and that got stopped. So anyway, kudos to you guys for creating change on all that. And, you can go in there and there's, a way to make that stuff happen. And, you guys have done that in a lot of cases. We've heard lots of stories about companies that, started out enforcing and then changed their mind. So, that's a good thing.
Yeah. They might want to think twice when it starts hurting their pocketbook.
Yep.
So
for sure. So anyway, there's a couple of comments in here. On my screen here, I can't see who it is. So Marilyn, maybe you can help me with it. But Rockland Unified has broken ranks.
Yes. So here's one thing that I would like to say.
Yeah.
Is, if a lot of us exercised a little bit of civil disobedience, I think a lot of school boards and county board of supervisors and city council members, whoever, might start to second guess what they're doing. Because with LA Unified, they went ahead and came out with their own like mandate, if you will, and they were going to, because the mandate for the vaccine for kids has not come
The
out.
statewide
The
mandate.
statewide mandate
Yeah.
is what I'm talking about. Thank you for clarifying, because I'm not good with the words. But Los Angeles Unified went ahead and came out with their own.
Yeah.
Right? I want to say it was 34,000 kids were not in compliance with
The deadline that they
with
set.
thank you, with the
Yeah.
deadline that had been set. So there would have been 34,000 kids that wouldn't have been able to attend school.
Right.
And so what did they do? They held the line. They said, no, like, we're not going to do this.
They, the parents.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they walked back that they walked back that mandate. And I'm like, kudos to you guys.
Yeah.
That's what it takes.
Well, and that's a conversation I feel like we've had a lot is, my general feel on any of these mandates is that it's a bluff. It's a big bluff.
We're playing a big giant poker game, I think.
Yeah. And whether it's a business or whether it's, not in every case, because I know that there are businesses and there are, schools and places who have fired people. And I know that, I'm not speaking for every single situation here because every business is different. But I think in general, with the real big ones, they know that what they're doing is unconstitutional. They know that what they're doing is ultimately going to lose in court. And so they're putting as much pressure on early before anything shakes out in courts. That way they can get the maximum amount of compliance without, before they lose their day in court. And so I think what you've seen with LA Unified is exactly that. People held the line, they said no, and then they backed off. And, San Diego basically was the same thing, except theirs came through the form of a lawsuit. And so, I think they're counting on, if we take teachers as an example, we know that each of these districts has hundreds of teachers who are not vaccinated, who are currently being tested weekly. And, unfortunately, I think what we're seeing is every week there's more and more who are just, and I don't think these are large numbers, but there are some who are saying, you know what, it's getting a little too close for comfort. I'm just going to go ahead and back down. And, and if somebody wants to get vaccinated, that's their own opinion. It just, to me, it stinks when you feel like you've been put into a place where you have no choice and you're doing it because you feel like you've been coerced and, all of that.
And that's just it. It should be a choice, and it should be, your employer shouldn't be allowed to make that choice for you.
Right. Well, nobody should. Government, employer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, holding the line does make a huge difference, and that's really important. So talking about Rockland Unified, that has broken ranks. So what Paul's referring to, this one isn't Rockland. This was Oakdale. I thought we had a Rockland.
Said that they were going to, I think, I don't want to say that because I'm not sure that that's accurate.
Well, there's been several of these school boards who've basically come out and said, you know what, you guys are constantly moving the goalposts. You're changing things all the time, and we are not going to enforce mandates. We're going to allow parents to choose. We're going to allow teachers to choose. So there are a lot of mostly small school districts who've passed resolutions and things along those lines, which there are a few of them out there now. And one of my hopefully winter projects here while we're in between Christmas and New Year's is I wanted to kind of consolidate some of those, because like we were reading through, I think it was the Rockland one, wasn't it? The other night that you were reading to me. And
I thought I read the Oakdale
maybe
one,
it was
and
Oakdale.
then maybe the Rockland one.
Yeah, so there's some of them where I'm like, I like that. I don't like that necessarily, but we could consolidate something, because one of the things that we've been trying to tell board members is, look, if you guys would just pass a resolution that says we're going to allow free choice, regardless of what comes down from Sacramento, a lot of this stuff goes away. And if you
Mhm.
just, if you know, a lot of us getting there, and getting on your case about all these things and talking about recalling you and having you removed from office and all of these sorts of things, like that stuff would largely go away if you would just get on board and properly represent us. And one way to do that would be to say, you know what, regardless of what Sacramento does, we know it's been politicized. We are going to allow our people to exercise their ability to choose, and we will not be enforcing any mandates. We won't be firing any teachers. We won't be removing any children from the campuses because they refuse to get a shot or a series of shots or 20 shots, whatever it's going to end up being.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good. I love the fact that Rockland Unified is doing that. I love the fact that Oakdale Unified is doing that, and several others are starting to come out that way. And I mean, we know that once the first people start doing it, it does give courage to
Exactly.
others. So
I kind of wish that, one of our districts in the area would have been one of the first ones, because then I would have been like, I mean, I would have been like, sweet. You know what our districts were doing? They're passing these resolutions. They're saying, no, we're not going to blah, blah, blah. But the thing I think that is good about like Rockland or Oakdale or, whoever passing these resolutions is we can then take that information to our school boards and say, no, you can pass a resolution saying that, because we've had board members tell us like, well, we have to do what we're told. Well, then what's the point of being on a board?
Yeah.
Like if you can't question things, or if you can't, do you get what I'm saying? It's like, well, then what do? You sit there and agree with everything? Like,
yeah.
To me, that didn't make sense.
Nope.
Like I asked one board member to question some of these things, and she's like, I can't do that. And what can you do? Like, I'm still irritated about that, apparently. So anyways, I feel like we can take these resolutions and say, no, you guys can pass a resolution. You're saying that you're refusing to pass a resolution.
Yeah, I mean, it's human nature, right? You take the path of least resistance. And so right now for board members, their path of least resistance is just to do what they're told by Sacramento. And so it's what they've done. It's what they've always done. The silver lining in all of this is that a lot more citizens are waking up and realizing what's been going on. I mean, for decades, we've all stayed home and we've just assumed that the school boards are doing what the school boards are supposed to do, and the superintendents are doing what they're supposed to do. We don't attend the school board meetings. We don't, ask questions. Most of us, I mean, some of you have probably been doing this for years and waiting for the rest of us to catch up. But for the most part, not a whole lot of people were doing that kind of stuff. And so, one of the themes, I think, just all across the nation and really the world, is that people are paying more attention to stuff like this. And even on the local school board level, that's, probably like the lowest on the political totem pole, parents and grandparents and community members are rising up and saying, no, we need accountability. And, those of you who've held these positions, a lot of you have held them for decades, who've just used it to sign checks and approve budgets. Like, that's changing. And, it's changing rapidly. That's not okay anymore. That's not the way this is going to work anymore. And so, we the people are finding our voice again.
Yeah.
And that's the really encouraging thing. And it's going to be rocky. It's going to be bumpy. And, just like any conflict is, we're trying to get to a place of peace, and we're trying to get to a place where things are resolved, and we're trying to get to a place where things are, accountable and all of those things. So it's going to be rocky getting there, because nobody's going to want to just like sit there and say, okay, yeah, you guys are right. We were doing it wrong. And, we're going to completely change the way that we've been doing things. Like, that's not going to happen. There's going to be a fight involved. And, we'll be as civil as we can be, but at the same time, like, this has to change, and people have to be accountable for not representing us properly when it comes to the stuff that we've elected them to do.
Well, and that's just it. So if our representatives aren't properly representing us, then people maybe need to consider running for these positions. That's another thing is, we want change, but we don't want to put in the work though either.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? So it's like, we need people to rise up, because, we can't do it all on our own. Obviously, thankfully we've had so many people volunteer and stuff, but we need people to rise up and say, look, if this person needs to be removed, like I'll run, or whatever.
Yeah.
And then how many people have run unopposed?
Right.
I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah. So moving forward, this just kind of popped into my mind. So I'm going to put you on the spot with this as well, because we didn't talk about it. But, just thinking about New Year's resolutions, going forward, and for Unmasked Tulare County, and, the movement of what we're doing. Where we kind of left things right before Christmas break is we were kind of putting school boards on notice that, we're not going to just sit back and allow this to go on, that we're to the place now where we've asked them to come alongside of us, and we've asked them to join the fight, and pretty much all of them have refused to do so. And so now comes the point where we identify those who need to go, and start the process of eliminating them. So, if you've been on these lives on Sunday nights, you've heard us talk about this a little bit before. But, as we get into the new year, like, this is really kind of the New Year's resolution when it comes to our group, and when it comes to, what the next steps are. And that's, removing people. And there's basically 4 ways that we've identified where we can constitutionally, peacefully remove people from office. And the first one, and I've done this at a couple of the board meetings in Tulare, is asking them to resign. A lot of them did not think they were getting into this when they got into it. And I know this is probably the least likely way that people are going to go, but, they might realize that they're not really up for this, and this isn't what they signed up for. And there might be 1 or 2 of them that just flat resign based on the pressure that they're starting to get. So we can ask them to do that. I think I phrased it like, do the honorable thing and resign if you're not willing to represent and fight for us. The second way to do it is, there is an election coming up in November of 22, and probably half or close to half of your school board is up for re-election in 22. So generally the way that works is, if it's a 5-person board, there will be like either 2 or 3 of them up for re-election in 22, and then the other ones will be in 24. If you have a 7-person board, it would be 4 and 3. They structure it, and this is smart, to never, replace all of the board at the same time. So they basically do half of them every 2 years. So anyway, we need to know who our people are that are up for re-election. No one should run unopposed this year. Everybody, I mean, unless we have just a rock star person that's totally on our side, but I don't know of too many of those that are out there at this point who've been willing to stand. So no one should run unopposed. We need to make sure that we have people running against the sitting existing school board members. And yeah, I mean, that's in November, so that's a little ways away, but we got to be thinking about it now, because we have to find the people, convince them that it's time for them to run for school board. And then there's filing deadlines and things like that have to go in. So, while that is in November and it's a long ways away, we have to get in front of that. And that's one of the ways where we can replace people. The third way to replace school boards is to recall them. And this is a difficult way. It's a way that is going to require a lot of manpower and boots on the ground. And if we talk about New Year's resolutions, I'd like you to make that one of yours, that you will jump into this thing. And when the time comes, when we put out the call for people to go out and pass out flyers, to go talk to neighbors, to walk precincts, like, that's how this stuff gets done. And if we just try to stay on Facebook and share posts and, do all these things, it doesn't get done. It takes boots on the ground. And I don't care how big of a technology world we live in, like, to get this stuff to actually happen, it takes those boots on the ground to make it happen. So
unfortunately, we can't just have like a petition and have people say we need like physical signatures.
I mean, all like that stuff drives me crazy. These and I apologize if you do this, but all of these things that sign this online petition so we can change X, Y, and Z. All those things are garbage. They don't do anything. For you to like just click like or click something on online, it doesn't do anything. So like, even with petitions and with all of that, like, it has to be hard physical signatures. But anyway, It's going to take more. And the online part of it is big. So I'm not saying that we don't do that, but I'm saying that it has to be in addition to.
Yeah.
And so, as we get into the new year, in these different districts, we're going to identify, we're going to start with one person who is going to need to face the possibility of a recall. And then we're going to file papers on that. And we're going to, once we do that, like there's a strategy that goes into this thing. The timing has to be right. So like I see right now, that there's a dozen or two people who are watching this live right now. And, you guys are our core. You guys are our people who, have been with us. Like a lot of the folks that we mentioned by name here, we greatly appreciate you. And we're going to need everybody else to jump in there as well. But, the timing of this is key. So when we do file papers on recalling somebody, you only have a certain number of days.
Mm-hmm.
And in most of our districts, it varies by like how big the voting block is, how big anyway, there's all these different factors. But generally speaking, it's going to be about 60 days. And you've got to get a lot of signatures in about 60 days. So we have to time this right, and we have to be ready to go. Because if we file the paperwork and we're slow getting off the ground, it's not going to turn out well. We have to be ready, aim, fire, like when it's time. So, Paul, you said you just sent me documents for a recall from the Tulare County Elections Office. Thank you very much for doing that. I know, John Cannon, you've been working on that as well, kind of behind the scenes. And, as we get into the first or second week of January, we're going to have to start putting in that work to identify who these people are and get going. So it's a struggle. Yeah, Lori, exactly. Mm-hmm. Lori, you're saying recalls are hard. We struggled getting signatures to recall Crabtree. Yeah, I know. I talked with Brittany about that a week or two ago, just kind of asking questions about how that went. And, she said the same thing, that, it's difficult to get those. And Lori, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the way I interpreted that from Brittany was she was saying there was probably a group of about a half dozen of you who were putting in the work to make that happen. And you just didn't have enough. Like you didn't have the numbers to make that happen. And so, my thing is on ours, I feel like we have the network and we have the infrastructure, but we have to be smart about how we go about doing that.
Well, and I think another concern would be like, why are we recalling this person? Do you get what I'm saying? Because like, for example, I volunteered for the recall for Governor Newsom, mm-hmm. and I didn't feel like it was hard to get signatures. Like,
no, that was probably pretty easy around here.
Yeah, it was easy. Like, I mean, you just put up like a recall banner and like people just start like, flooding to you.
Yeah. Well,
but I think a lot of people who are really unaware of what's going on, which there still are people that are unaware of what's going on. It's like, we're going to have to educate these people, because they're going to be like, why, what's wrong with this person? Oh, I know that. Like, I know that person. I voted for him. Like,
right.
Like I grew up with him.
Well, and a lot of these people are beloved in the community, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. And they are. And we still like them as people, but they're just not representing us.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And that comes down to strategy, right? We have to have a good marketing campaign. We have to have a good, short version answer of why it is we're recalling. One of the reasons it was so easy to get signatures for Governor Newsom was because of the stuff that was going on. Like you mm-hmm. could see the things, during wildfire season when half the state is on fire. Like it's easy to be able to say, look, he's not doing his job. Or, people's houses are getting robbed. And, you have all of these just crazy things. The kids had been out of school for a year, all of this where you could point at Newsom and say, look, this is what's happening. And so it's easy. We have to be able to do the same thing with the schools. And you're exactly right, Marilyn, when it comes to these people who are holding these positions, mm-hmm. these are our beloved community members that have held these things for years. And most people are probably still asleep, if we're honest, mm-hmm. and they're going to not be able to correlate, okay, why would I need to recall this person? Like that's kind of a big drastic step. And so, we will have to be really organized and intelligent about how we communicate that message, because you also don't want to come off as the crazy people who are just out there, causing up a stir. And it's like, we might be right to present it that way, but you're not going to get that person who's on the fence. Maybe that person who doesn't, fully buy into what we're talking about. Like, we're going to have to do some convincing. And, if any of you, you have to be able to convince in a short amount of time, because if it requires us to sit down for a half an hour with somebody to get their vote, you might get a few of those who are willing to sit down for a half hour, but we got to be able to grab them with a mailer or with something that, could be short and sweet, some sort of phrase on a yard sign, something along those lines. I feel like we'll be able to, I think we'll be able to get the support financially. And like, we actually just had a talk with our pastor today at church.
I love our pastor, by the way. If you guys are looking for a church, I'm not looking to, if you already have a home church and you love it there, that's great. I'm not looking to get you to go from your church to our church, but Tulare Bethel's a phenomenal church. I really like our church.
Yeah, and a lot of you have met Pastor Regan, right? He's been on with me. We've talked about religious exemptions and all that stuff, but his dad, who is the co-pastor, Dennis Sunderland, stopped me after church and basically said that, hey, when you guys get into where you're going to find people to run against some of these school board members, like, we're fully on board. And, he would give us any support that they possibly can to help that. And, they're willing to, should we say, not bend the rules. That's not the way to put that. But, a lot of churches are scared of getting involved with anything politically because they're scared to lose their 501c3, all that stuff. And I asked him about that, and he said, that's garbage. You don't have to be scared of that. It's the church that should be leading the way in a lot of this thing. And I really appreciated what he had to say, and just knowing his character, I believe him. But the only reason I even mentioned that, I'm not trying to get you to come to our church, but is that's, one of the groups of people, and the churches and all of that are going to need to get involved if we're going to actually make this happen. And so hopefully we can have some of those conversations with our pastors and with our leaders, because the infrastructure that they already have in place is great to be able to make this stuff happen. So, yeah.
Do you want to go through some of these comments?
Yeah, let's come back up through the comments.
Okay, so I want to say, Lori Messia said recalls are hard. We struggle getting signatures to recall Crabtree. There needs to be designated people to collect in neighborhoods, some at stores and some outside schools. Outside schools is a really good idea. I didn't realize you could do that. I always feel like that would be like off limits or something.
Sure.
But if you're on the sidewalk, it's public property. Lori Messia said, Marilyn, you're right. Thank you. Many didn't even know who Crabtree was or why we wanted him removed. Yeah,
and just for clarity, Crabtree was a board member in Visalia.
Yeah, but he recently moved, so he's no longer a board member.
Who asked about a video?
Yes, Crystal did. Could we make a short promotional video on why we're placing recall? I think that's a really good idea.
Absolutely. And then where do you put it? That's the thing, right? So how do we get that distributed? Obviously, social media is we try to get that viral, but there's a way. Messaging is everything. Idea. The hardest was just people that they don't know, the board members and what's going on. Yeah,
exactly. Who said that?
That's the tricky part.
What's going on? Yeah,
recalling is a campaign. Is that John or Tracy?
That's Tracy.
Okay.
Yeah, many people going door to door for signatures, and I'm okay with that. Like that, I don't have a problem with. Yeah. So I prefer not to go by myself. So if people want to go with me, like I would have no problem going to people's houses. So
yeah, I'm just thinking about this a little bit. Like I don't know if this is John or Tracy. I think both of you are there, but school boards pulling families' health insurance for not testing weekly for no reason. There's a story out of Tulare City Schools where that happened. It was a lot of you actually donated to their GoFundMe, but there was a teacher. It's actually John and Tracy's daughter's teacher, who was put on unpaid administrative leave while she was pregnant because she had concerns about testing, while she was pregnant. And they removed her health insurance as a result of that. And so we've talked a lot with her parents, who've become very vocal at the school board meetings in this situation that's terrible. And I certainly am not minimizing that at all, but I also think that a story like that, a testimony, could be powerful. when it comes to a video, when we're just trying to do something, a short little promotional video. This is an example of the stuff that's happening, and it needs to put a stop needs to be put on this. And the school boards are the ones who ultimately have to vote on whether or not to remove those benefits.
Yep.
Like in that situation. So
yeah, they voted on that, right?
They did. Yeah. And it's crazy. But that's it's not great. I don't mean to say that nothing about the situation is great, but the fact that it happened could be used in a way that hopefully we can prevent that from happening again. And that might be one of the points that we can make in a promotional video on a recall. So I love these ideas. One thing is we're just going to have a lot of folks that are doing this. And, I'm looking at like my schedule, Marilyn's schedule, all that kind of stuff. Like I love the video idea. I'd love it even more if we could find somebody to do it. I can do it. Like I have the ability and probably the skills to do it, but the time, is hard. And I'll certainly help in any way that I can. And if it comes down to it, I will do it.
So, hey, Paul said, yes, we can make a video. So, Paul, are you volunteering to help us make a video?
No, Paul's great on media, so that would be fantastic.
Poor Paul. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to throw you under the bus, Paul.
But that's great. We need people whose skills mesh with these kind of things. So, anyway, yeah. And, if you guys know people, if there's somebody who might know a videographer who would be able to donate some time doing that kind of stuff, that would be fantastic. But we all need to be recruiting.
Yeah.
And recruiting people from within our group, even and let's not assume that just because someone's in our group, they're seeing all of these things. They don't, there's even with these live videos, we might get, we might get 100 or 150 people who actually end up watching these out of a group that's approaching 2,000 people. So a lot of folks are not getting this information, and it requires us, tagging them or like reaching out to our friends that are in the group or not in the group, but just communicating these messages. And especially as momentum starts growing around recalls, we're going to need to do that even more and more. Don't ever just assume that somebody is seeing something because they're a part of our group.
I have a really bad, I just assume that if I know, then everybody knows.
Yeah, and that's not the case.
I'm really bad about that. And so I was like, man, we need to have our first, the first 10 minutes of our live where we go over the same stuff every week, because there's new people in the group.
Yeah.
And there's, or there's people who've never listened to a live, or there's this, or there's that. There was one gentleman who's been in our group for months. And just the other day, I was like, oh, yeah, that information's on our website. And he's like, you guys have a website? I'm like, bro, come on now. And I'm like, oh, but again, I think some of that is the shadow banning.
Yep.
And,
and you guys know how it is. Like on Facebook.
And then things get lost in the feed. And I don't like the way Facebook is now, because it's all based on like algorithms and all this stuff and whatever. But it used to be like you could scroll through Facebook, and then you knew like, oh, that was the last post I saw last time, so I'm all caught up.
Yeah, not anymore.
But it's not like that anymore. Anyways.
That's true. So as far as New Year's resolutions, like that's going to be a big one. And, we're going to be talking about it a lot, because it's going to take so much work to get that done. So,
yeah,
we're going to be spreading word. We're going to be, like I said, we got to be strategic about it, because we're pretty much going to have one shot at any of these people. You don't get to just like try again when you don't succeed the first time. So we want to make sure that we hit this thing and do it correctly, and with as likely of a positive result as we can possibly get to. So along with that, and somebody had put in there about, I think it was Crystal, talking about designated people in neighborhoods and stores and outside schools. The fourth route that we're kind of taking to remove people is a more legal process route. And it's a route that would go through the grand jury, where we're building a case of evidence against school board members for not representing us properly. And it's a word that's called maladministration, being guilty of maladministration, not administering their oath of office correctly, and all of that. So, this is one that will require signatures on notices and affidavits that we'll be turning in, at some point here in the sort of near future to these school boards. But in addition to getting signatures on recall ballots, we'll be asking for signatures on stuff like that as well. So we'll probably do some combining of those type of events. Like, so, if we're out there collecting signatures for a school board recall, we might ask people to sign notices and affidavits as well while they're there. So that'll, probably be confusing to, most people. So we'll have to have some folks there who can explain all that. But, that's another route that we're pursuing, and, trying to get as many irons in the fire, honestly, as we can to create some change. And, that's what we're doing. Was that Elizabeth that asked, any rules on the bus? Can we take food and drinks? So what I've been telling people is, yes, take your food and drinks. What we're going to plan to do is make one stop on the way there and one stop on the way back. So we'll pick like a halfway point, I don't know, Ripon or somewhere like that, where we'll pull off and people can use the bathroom and get snacks or things if they need to purchase it, stretch your legs. But yeah, bring snacks. Like, I'm planning on bringing a bag of snacks, probably a case of water, different things along those lines, because it's going to be a long day. You're going to be on the bus, obviously, and then there's going to be all the time where you're out there at the Capitol. Bring a chair, like one of those lawn chairs, the camping chairs sort of things. Yeah, we'll just use the bottom of the bus and we'll put everybody's chair. So maybe tag it with your name. Signs. Make sure that you can get it. Yeah, signs are a big thing. So we'll have some poster board and markers and stuff out there for people who want to make signs. But I would encourage you to spend some time this week making them. And the other big thing is, like, plan to bring your kids. If you're on the fence about whether or not to bring your kids, like, this is real life civics lesson that they're learning about, what it is in America to be able to stand for what you believe. They're not going to get this in school. They're going to get this by showing up to the Capitol.
A hands-on field trip for kids.
It is. But spend some time with them. Let's make some signs, and signs that obviously we want them to be family friendly. So no cursing or anything like that on your signs. But it's about choice, and that's really what we're fighting for. And you can make it anti-vaccine if you want to, or anti-masks if you want to, but keep in mind, the way we bring the middle of the road people in is by making this about choice and allowing people to have the freedom of choice on what goes on in and around their body. So anyway, yeah, bring, what do we say? Signs, chairs, snacks, drinks. Any of that stuff is fine. Just, put yourself together a little package of stuff that you can do. You might want to make some sandwiches or something. It's, like I said, it's going to be one of those long days. So just kind of think through what that day is going to look like and make sure you have what you need when we're going. So,
and dress warm.
Yeah, dress warm. Shoot, I was going to look at that.
In a sweatshirt.
The last I looked at it, there is a slight chance of rain that day, and it's going to be it's going to be like in the low 50s for the high. So probably layer yourself. Make sure that you if it does get warm and the sun comes out, you might be hot on your sweatshirt. So make sure you dress in layers. May not be a bad idea to bring an umbrella just in case. Like I said, it was a very slight chance. I want to say it was like 10% or something. When I looked, it was finally showed up on the extended forecast, but we'll keep an eye on that as it comes closer as well. But yeah, just be aware.
And they have, who was it that actually reserved the Capitol, the three sides of it?
I don't remember which group it was, and I don't know that they got all three sides.
Oh, you don't?
So,
okay.
So we don't need to keep saying that, but
sorry.
We know that at least the rally itself is going to be centered on I believe it's the north steps. Okay. The north steps of the Capitol. So,
and I think they even have some speakers, don't they?
They do. They've got several speakers lined up and things that are going on. So it's not just like a show up and nobody's going to know what they're doing. It's an organized event that's being done. So it'll be good. It'll be exciting.
Yeah. Our boys are going.
Yep.
Whether they like it or not.
Yep. They'll be there. Right on. Yeah, I think that's all I'm seeing in the comments for now. I think I guess we ended up filling the hour just talking about that stuff. But Anyway, we're going to probably shut it down here. We love you guys. We appreciate you. And
Has anyone expressed that they would like to go but can't afford it?
I haven't heard that yet.
I have not heard that yet either.
So if there are people out there willing to help with that, that would be amazing. You can reach out privately, and we can look at doing a sponsorship for people who are in that situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, we certainly don't want people to be left out because they're not able to.
Well, and that was actually one
do
reason why we got the buses, was because the cost of gas is expensive right now. And so we were like, $40 to be able to go to Sacramento and back, we felt like that was a really good price.
Yeah, gas and parking and all that stuff that you deal with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, that's really good.
Yeah. So if that comment is an offer to help with that, that would be greatly appreciated. And we'll keep that in mind as we're talking to people. Like I said, I have a feeling this week it's going to be, that last minute, like, hey, I want to go. Are there any more seats? And hopefully they won't all be gone by the time people get to that point. So anyhow, all right. Did you have anything else to say?
I think the only thing that I didn't say that I probably should have said at the beginning was we have our directory. Just to remind people that we do have the directory. I've been actually getting emails that it seems like a few people have, seen it and decided to sign, or maybe they saw our video from last week and went ahead and filled it out. I know that like several months ago when we first advertised it, it seemed like it was huge. Like so many people were signing up, but we still have this directory. It's basically if something happens and we wake up one morning and Facebook is gone, and you want to still be able to stay in communication with us, then we'll have a way of being able to reach out to you. It just asks for like your name, your address, your email, and your phone number. You do not have to submit all of that. You don't have to submit anything if you don't want to, but you can only submit, if you want, just submit the information that you feel comfortable with us having. We're the only ones that have access to it. And that is actually at the top. If you're on Facebook, it's at the top in the announcements.
On our group. When you go into our Facebook group, it'll be pinned to the top as an announcement.
Yes. Yeah. So anyways, if you want to do that, you can do that. Elizabeth just asked, do we know where the bus will be loading at yet?
Yeah, we're going to go ahead.
In Tulare, it's Smart and Final, right?
Yes.
In the Smart and Final parking lot?
Yeah, in Tulare, it's going to be in the Smart and Final parking lot. In Exeter, it's looking like it's going to be right out in that A&W parking lot. So there's A&W, and then there's another little store in that general area. But the Exeter folks are telling me that's pretty well lit, and that way, cars are pretty safe there. So that's going to be the plan there. So Smart and Final in Tulare, or A&W in Exeter. So yeah. All right, guys. Well, have a great rest of your Sunday evening. Enjoy your week between Christmas and New Year's. Everybody be safe on your New Year's festivities, and we will talk to you again soon. We love you, and we'll talk later.